can you say about the following influences in socio-cultural dimensions of communication when it comes to age, gender, religion, culture, and social status? How are you going to show your sensitivity as a human being? The pictures are showing an example of influence in age. Some mature women dress like teenagers because they want to look young and fit in with the young people. If you can see your neighbor in a teenage outfit, how will you react properly? In Ireland, Holy Communion is celebrated like a wedding. It is a big day for Irish people. This is an influence of religion in Ireland as the land of saints and scholars. In the Philippines, you can see women wearing long skirts or long dresses every day, just like the Arab women. This is another example of the influence of religion. Before continuing to the other influences of the social-cultural dimensions of communication, let's talk about miscommunication. Communication breakdown can lead to a total cessation of interaction or communication stops, and oftentimes miscommunication is the cause of heartbreaks, arguments, or broken relationships. Miscommunication is the effect of the lack of awareness of the dimensions of communication, and so there is misunderstanding. Therefore, we have to address this problem by understanding the dimensions of communications. There are 8 dimensions of communications. These are verbal, nonverbal, oral, written, formal, informal, intentional, and unintentional. Let's start with verbal and nonverbal dimensions. Verbal dimensions encompass the use of language and the words chosen, while nonverbal dimensions are facial expressions, gestures, and bodily movements. For you to understand better, you could watch my video on the types of nonverbal communication. Always remember that both verbal and nonverbal should be used together to clearly impart or convey the message. Words should not contradict actions to avoid misunderstanding. We have to know other people's cultures so we would know how to behave or react properly and to avoid misunderstanding. For instance, courtesy in the Philippine society is expressed through talking to someone in authority by looking down. Looking straight at them is considered rude and frowned upon. In contrary, in Western society, avoiding looking at people in the eye or looking down or around while talking to them often means that one is not telling the truth or is hiding something. On the other hand, in Thailand, no one sits higher than the king does, and teachers' chair are higher than students to show their authority and command of respect. These are the typical cultures of men and women. Each gender should understand this to have a smooth relationship and for both of them to have patience and consideration. Men think they should be macho in language and action. They use assertive words and expect to be understood, while women are expected to be non-confrontational in their language, especially with men. They are supposed to talk only about certain topics that are within the world of women. If men are assertive, women are passive and submissive. So, men, you have to understand that women won't tell you about what's wrong, and women should be aware that men expect to be understood about their words and actions. Try to observe your parents and siblings. If these are true, what can you say about this? Please leave your comment below. Now let's proceed to oral and written dimensions. Oral means spoken communication, and this takes care of delivering the words. It is the verbal transmission of information. Written means transcription of thoughts and ideas, either using paper and pen or encoding them in your computer. And this takes care of transcribing the words for reading. This is about sending of messages through letters, manuals, memos, and etc. Try to observe the difference of the following cultures when it comes to oral and written dimensions. Filipinos are wordy in written communication. They beat around the bush, even in formal letters, and they use highfalutin and polysyllabic words. While Westerners are more direct in speaking, and they write simpler letters because they find long winded letters and circuitous speeches tedious and boring. What can you say about this? Before, Filipino women were indirect and reserved, but now they have changed because of the access of mass media and social media. Let's proceed to formal and informal dimensions. Formal dimensions usually means meticulous observation of appropriateness in dress, language, and setting. Example, business meetings are official and are conducted properly. Informal dimensions use more casual approach with no regard for formalities. Example, when we are talking with friends, it does not matter what language we're using and what clothes we are wearing. Reflect from this influence of culture. Calling the supervisor by his or her first name is not likely preferred or appreciated in many Asian countries like Philippines. You have to call them sir or madam, unlike in the Western countries that you could just call them by their first name. What about this influence of gender? A female teacher rather than a male teacher are the choice of students when sharing their problems because students probably feel that female teachers are more sympathetic. Of the intentional and unintentional dimensions. Intentional dimensions rely on the fact that messages always have a purpose. We communicate with intentions, while unintentional dimensions refer to the reminder that every message has an intended meaning and the speaker may not be even aware of it. These are the nonverbal messages, like the mannerisms. And again, we have to understand that everybody has different culture. Each country has different cultures. Like the Westerners, because they are direct people, they would want to clarify any miscommunication right away and ask what went wrong, what's happening, because they want to resolve the problem or the conflict. Unlike the Filipinos, who would just act as though nothing happened. We all have to be sensitive to the socio-cultural dimensions of communications to have love, peace, and happiness. I am inviting you to watch my video on how to avoid bias in communication. Don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell for you to be updated of my lessons. As a retired teacher, I just want to share my lessons before they will be forgotten. Thanks for watching. This has been your Teacher L.